Hey guys, Thomas Jr. here, aka Mustached. I'm here to review the movie Army of Thieves. If you end up enjoying this review, then please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. Also, to check out that description, the second thing will head you over to my Patreon page. Any donations will be greatly appreciated. And with shilling out of the way, I'll remind you at the end of the review of all that shilling. Let's get into Army of Thieves. So, Army of Thieves is a prequel movie to Army of the Dead, or whatever it's called, which is probably the fastest prequel I've ever seen come out in the history of ever. Also, proof that you can fail upwards, which is always cringeworthy that people, they can make a shitty movie like Army of Dead and then get more work. But here we are, and fast. Very, very fast. Anyway, so this movie, obviously predating the one being a prequel, follows Sebastian, the locksmith expert of that movie, as this movie begins with him recording himself on YouTube and beginning to tell his story about this man who built all the safes that we're going to see throughout the movie, and this unbroken cell safe. However, he currently has no views on the YouTube, and I know exactly how that feels as a small YouTuber. It sucks. And we'll talk about more about that, because it actually helps kick off the plot, believe it or not. So, after the fact, he gets his coffee and he sees the zombie outbreak beginning to unfold. Elsewhere, obviously, Vegas, as we saw in the current, or the Army of the Dead movie. And when he returns back to his home, he sees that he has received his very first view and comment. This comment tells him that to meet him up at a certain location and tell a password to gain him access to unlock his true skills and potential. And my suspension of disbelief is already shattered because that does not happen on YouTube. People don't help each other on YouTube. Let me tell you that for free. Especially if they're a bigger YouTuber, that's the biggest red flag. Even though I'll save you some time and tell you that this individual is not a bigger YouTuber, but still, if a bigger YouTuber says they help smaller content creators, don't believe them because they are lying to you. So far, that has been the case, as far as I've seen. As far as the proof I've been directly been distributed to, that's what I am going to currently believe until proven otherwise, which, again, on YouTube, probably not going to happen. So, again, already off to a weird start, considering, again, that's how we open up our plot. So he goes to the location, enters this safe opening competition where 3 others or I should say 6 or 8 others, I'm not sure how many there were, but other 8 combination expert safe unlockers are in a competition as people are watching and betting on them, which, again, really weird, but okay. And of course, our lead gets all the way to the finale and even wins, in fact. This is when he first sees Gwen, our person who left the comment in view. So, as he's going about his business, he kind of goes back to what he's been doing. He's watching the news. And as he does his morning routine this time around, Gwen is there to, make sure things are a little bit different in the bar that he goes to. After the fact, after getting the low down of the potential for work, even if it is stealing. He watches the news some more. And later on that night, he has a nightmare where he sees a zombie girl and wakes up. And after the fact of thinking about zombies, he decides to go over to the place where he was told to go. There he meets the rest of the team. We meet Karina, the hacker, Ralph, the driver, and Brad Cage, the tough guy, I guess, slash leader of the group. So they go over and they begin talking about what they're going to be doing. They also talk about how the guy from the second movie, the one that owns the bank there, Takana, he owns all of the banks, I guess. I don't know how that works, but okay. And thus, as they're proceeding to move forward, they literally talk about the trope where they talk about the plan while doing the plan, to then follow up by talking about the plan while doing the plan. So, that's the kind of comedy you're gonna expect out of Army of Thieves, is to, this is the thing that has been done before, let's do the thing that's been done before in any given heist movie, or any, most heist movies have this, but, not every heist movie has it. But, they go through it. He gets past, obviously, and they go through the baby, what the rest of the team refers to the baby plan, or the baby set of unlocking and stealing. So yeah, after their success, they have a party where he catches the ire of Gwen and decides to talk to her some more, which gains the ire of one Brad Cage, who's already on her in a romantic, quote-unquote romantic way. So, while he's doing his little talk, he talks about how the kids would play outside. Even when he was younger, he was already doing the lockpicking thing. So he gets a bit of her backstory about how she was always a part of the rich people, and how her richness came from them stealing money, in that sense, from other people, and being rich that way, and she decided to strike out on her own, or at least with this crew. She shows him the ultimate safe, which is what we see in the next film, Army of the Dead. And, of course, they want to go through all the banks, including this one. So as they're proceeding, during their next one, Gwen, seeing that they're guards this time, fights them off, and Sebastian is freaked out. And while that's going on, after that's going on, he talks about the vault as he did the prior one. I didn't mention this, but he does this for all three of the vaults that we see in the movie. When he gets up to it, he discusses its story and its importance, and then proceeds to unlock it. And we see all the mechanisms and all the clicking inside of what's going on in there. This one is called the Valkyrie. I don't remember what the first one was called, but point is, the security guard gets suspicious of his activities getting in, so they proceed to pull some alarms. Thus, Brad has to intervene, puts on a mask, uses some tranq gun to take down people. In the process of doing all this, he does get shot in the shoulder. And during their escape plan and via vehicle, Brad decides to, drop Sebastian, leave him for gone. Thus, he has to go on foot. They already know what he looks like, so they're looking for him on top of everyone else. So he steals a bike and he proceeds to move forward. The main FBI guy misses them by a hair, and he had been there during or after the first initial planning of the stealing of the thieves. And he was mad, and people were like, hey, there's a zombie apocalypse, remember that, we should probably start to focus on that. But they're like, but this guy's like, nah, everyone's gotta be focused on that, so that's why we gotta focus on this. So that's his whole deal, and he wants to get his revenge because the Brad guy outwitted him and shot him in the butt, because I guess shooting people in the butt's funny, or whatever, but, whatever. So yeah, during their escape, however, Gwen and Karina also drop out of the car, so they're separating from Brad and the other guy. I believe his name was Ralph. So, the two of them get back to his place before he does, somehow. All the while, the main FBI guy is like trying to catch up. Meanwhile, we have Sebastian still, freaking out. And this sort of this obvious split up doesn't help them in any regard. So yeah. So we see their third heist with the three of them now. Moving in on any potential activity the FBI does, learns that their stuff is already being moved. And they're like, no, that's not how that's supposed to work. But it turns out our heroes, or anti-heroes, if you want to be more precise, I suppose, are had already several days before prepped to get them out of that location and move the bank elsewhere. So during their transport, Gwen attacks the truck, they take over the truck. Sebastian is already in the back, doing the third safe, while they're driving away. Karina, left behind by this point, gets caught by the FBI, but manages to destroy her phone. Meanwhile, they claim that they will use her brother as a sort of fail-safe to get more information from her. We don't learn anything else other than that. So, Sebastian cracks the safe, obviously, because he always does, and Brad, when they stop, catches up with them and meets them with at gunpoint, knowing their location through GPS. So, Gwen, having her gun prepped and having his not prepped, holds them all up, and ties the two of them up. So the cops are able to catch up, and they're able to arrest Brad and Ralph. And during their little escape, Gwen kisses Sebastian, finding him, I guess, that of the attraction of kiss-worthiness. However, they also get stopped as well, and she pleads with the main cop to let Sebastian go, as he was never a part of the main plan, even though, technically speaking, he was the one who primarily opened every safe, so I don't know what that's supposed to mean, though he's not involved. I would say he's very directly involved now, as of the first robbing. But out of kindness and wanting revenge even more, he decides to go with it and tells Sebastian to go. He leaves the money there and drives off via boat. He opens up his passport that they were left behind on the boat. He sees the name Ludwig, which is, I believe, is the name he tells in Army of the Dead, if I'm not mistaken. And we see the cutaway to the next few weeks passing, and his intro of Army of the Dead replays and his bit in it with Dave Bautista. And that was Army of Thieves. And I will say, giving this movie its credit, it's not as broken as Army of the Dead, which is saying a lot. It's not great. I mean, the beginning is a little bit wonky, extremely so, but, past getting the plot moving forward, excusing all of that nonsense, I would say the rest of the movie's fine, is the best I can say. We learn a little bit more about Sebastian and his backstory, which is pretty simplistic in its nature, but it's also fine. There's some neat stuff with the whole unlocking the safe and all the mechanism parts and all that stuff. I don't remember if they did do that shot in the Army of the Dead where they show all the lock stuff happening, but, for what this movie is, it's fine, I guess, even as a prequel. And it sets it up so where, like, he said he was going to do the fourth safe anyway, because it was never truly about the money. It was about getting the story and just doing it. Just opening the safe. That apparently was enough for him. So yeah, that's Army of Thieves. I think I would probably give it like a 5 out of 10. It's like halfway, pretty decent. I don't remember what I gave Army of the Dead initially, but it's definitely below a 5 out of 10. If I gave it any higher in my previous review of Army of the Dead, then I misspoke, or I didn't truly criticize it to my fullest extent. I wasn't being as objective as possible. I've definitely let some things slide. I do recall that. I do recall letting the whole thing about the traitor guy heading upstairs and then teleporting downstairs to get mauled by a tiger zombie. I let that slide somehow because it completely slipped my mind that he headed up in the first place and again magically teleports downstairs, so that makes no logical sense, but there are a lot of things that make no logical sense in that movie, and that's just one example of it. Again, some broken stuff here at the beginning, but I think the rest of it, again, is fine for what it is. So yeah. That's Army of Thieves, and if you ended up enjoying this review, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, make sure to check out those links in the description. The first will head you over to my Discord, the second will head you over to my Patreon page. Any donations are greatly appreciated, and until next time, everyone, bye-bye.